Good morning. Let's take a couple breaths together, shall we? Exhale it all out. And take a deep breath in. And let it go. Another deep breath in. And let it go. Another deep breath in. And let it go. So as we explore through the year of 2023, our year's theme of living out loud, each month we're exploring a different quality or a different element or aspect that we're inviting us to live out loud as individuals and as a community. And in the beginning of the year in January, we started just rooting in the one truth that we want to live out loud in this awareness that God is all that there is one thing. Let us live in that divine, holy, magnificent, radical truth. Let's just start there. God is all there is. From there, we went to curiosity and said, okay, if that's the truth, then let's be curious about how that shows up, about how we can each experience it, about how it's coming through each one of us. And then from that curiosity, last month we stepped into authenticity, right? If we're willing to ask those deep questions, if we're willing to allow Spirit to come through us unfiltered, then our authentic true self is what comes through. But in order to be authentic, guess what, folks? It's April. We have to be vulnerable. I remember when I announced this 2 weeks ago, Mavis in the front row said, oh no. Why? Because, think back to our primal selves, to those as when we emerged from nature. Think about the animal world. To be vulnerable means you could get eaten, right? So there's a little bit of a hesitation when we say, let's get vulnerable. It's like, oh, I might get eaten, And so there's also this realization that in order to be vulnerable, we have to be in safe space, right? We have to be in this container that we call community, where we know that if I'm vulnerable, I'm going to be held in it, right? That I'm going to be supported when I show you what I'm holding. Right? I wasn't here last week because I couldn't be. I have learned that there are some times when I just need to take care of myself and ask for help. So I did that last week. What you may not know, some folks do, but very few do, is that just earlier in the week, last week, my dad went in for a routine medical procedure. And then the next thing I know, he's in the ICU, had to have 2 blood transfusions, and my family spent 5 days wondering if my dad was going to make it. He's okay. Doesn't quite have enough blood yet, but he's making his own now, and we're on the mend. And last Saturday, I realized I can't show up for you all on Sunday. And I had to call the team and say, I'm calling a mental health day for myself. I didn't get out of bed until 9:45 last Sunday. Oh my God. Wow. I know all you do that occasionally. It was my turn. But I had to recognize that I had to reach out for help. I had to call my team and say, I can't show up. I need prayer. I need your help. And I need you to take on this day for me. And they did. And it was beautiful. Right? But it took me being willing to be vulnerable and also to know myself enough to say, maybe there's an expectation that I'm supposed to be here on Sunday, but actually, I have to take care of myself today. If you've ever been on an airplane, we've all been taught, put on your own oxygen mask before you help the person in the seat next to you. Right? Right? So that's what I had to do last week. I'm back. Here we are. Thank you very much. And, in the spirit of vulnerability, I'll also tell you that I rarely sleep on Saturday nights because I have anxiety, because I get self-critical, because I wonder if I'm going to have anything of value to offer you on Sunday morning. And I can't tell you how often I'm laying awake at 4:30 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, Jason's snoring next to me, and I'm going, oh, I hope something happens tomorrow. because it's not me doing it. And that's part of the process, is realizing that it's okay to doubt ourselves. It's okay to reach out for help. You know, many of you have heard me over the years talk about my struggles with mental health and depression. And it's a fascinating contrast to be up here every week, to be seen by you all, to be affirmed by you all, to get your love and all that comes back at me, and to be hours before curled up on my couch in the morning going, am I even worth it? Right? And I guarantee you, I'm not the only one. Right? Thank you. Right? But that's the power of vulnerability, is to recognize that no matter how shiny somebody looks, no matter how genius I am, that I still question myself, and I can stand before you and say, you know what? Sometimes I'm unsure of myself. I don't have it all together. Sometimes when I'm in crisis, I just need to pull the blanket over my head and watch something funny and cry. You know? Because if we're not willing to be vulnerable, what we're holding will eat us up. And sometimes we don't be vulnerable because we're afraid to get eaten, remember? But if we're not vulnerable, we're going to eat ourselves from the inside. Right? And so we have to be willing to share ourselves with each other, but also be willing to cultivate safe space and community, to have those relationships, to have those people that we know that we can reach out to, who are our safe people, who are our safe space. But it also means we have to be willing to ask. We have to be willing to ask for what we need. We have practitioners here every Sunday. We tell you, if there is anything on your heart that you are holding, don't leave this place without asking for prayer. I'm often shocked that there's not a line out the door waiting for prayer. Because I guarantee you there are people who walk into this space who leave the door without asking for what they need. Stop it. Ask for what you need. Be willing to be open. Be willing to be seen as being imperfect. Be willing to let your stuff out and say, I need help. Because that's how we grow. That's how we actually become more of ourselves. That's how we allow the things that are painful and difficult to transform us, to change us, to make us into who we're meant to be. Because I guarantee you, everything that you're struggling with, everything that's coming your way, everything that is a difficulty in your life is there in support of you being who you are meant to be. And it's when we resist the pain, it's when we resist being open, it's when we resist honesty that we stop ourselves from growing into the people that we're meant to be. And so we have to practice vulnerability. We have to be willing to be open, to stand in front of each other and say, this is what I need in order to thrive, in order to survive, in order to heal, in order to be open. Let us share with each other what we need. Because I know, because I talk to many of you, there's a lot happening in the lives of the people in this room alone. I know many of you are struggling with hurt and pain and fear. Let's not just walk into this door each week and say, I'm good, if you're not. But that takes the invitation to be open, to be vulnerable, to tell the truth, and not just mask ourselves so that we're seen as being this positive spiritual person. Because sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is fall apart. I tell you, I am more closer to God when I am on the floor weeping than when I'm standing in that corner dancing. It's true. There's something about the depth of our pain, when we let it out, that brings us to another place. And that place is a deep opening for possibility. So I want to do something here today, because if some of you might know, on first Sundays of the month, we have a prayer ritual that we've been doing. And we're going to do it a little differently today, because I'm going to invite you to be a little bit vulnerable.